Reese, here we go. We have Cableman 48, the first part of the bondage on a story arc that ushers in a great new run. From out of the fire, a saviour. This issue also introduces a character that winds up being somewhat important to Cableman, Gannon forwards. Before I open it and we marvel at the recap page, before this was Cableman -1. It is inessential. I do like that issue though, but the storyline starts with 48. That -1 marks the beginning of the run proper. It's also that -1 issue where the comparisons between Josie Landian and Jack Quimby will be more obvious. I think the colours of the issue we're looking at today drown out a lot of the Jack Quimby appearance. Plus, you get to see Stanley Lee as Cableman in -1. You can start with 48 though, other than maybe one page at the end. The -1 issue is not increasingly relevant to this story. Maybe if you are going to read the whole run, you should grab that one, but if you just want this story, you can start here with 48 pretty cleanly. There is a trade paperback of it, but it's probably out of print by now. It came out in like 2016, I think it was. We have the fold-out recap page, your new guide to the Marvel Universe by Comic Crafts. And this one, normally I blindly praise these, but we have an odd thing here. It lists the characters and gives a brief explanation of who they are and their history. Well, the first one here is the character we are about to be introduced to, and we are told nearly everything that we are about to read for ourselves in this issue. I would say, in fact, all the character bios here are maybe bad choices because you're giving away too much of the issue here, too much of the story. Better you tell us who Dominoes is or who Blake Smith is. They might not be in this issue, but they are important supporting characters who will be in future issues. The previously on bit is better. It covers stuff that has happened recently, and not all of it is relevant, but it is useful. The stuff with Bastard, the Operation No Tall Pants crossover, those were the issues before this. That has no bearing on what we are about to read, but it doesn't hurt to know that we are coming out of a crossover, even if it doesn't have any relevance here. Operation Zero Tolerance, more like Operation Zero Relevance. Josie Landian began his run as artist with a cover to one of those issues. Classic gun scope cover. We also explain recent developments in Excellent Force, where the team have left Cableman. I was again about to say that doesn't matter at all, but it is a bit important from the angle that people coming into the title might associate Cableman with leading that team, so it's helpful to establish that they have parted ways over in Excellent Force, the John Roger Moore run. I reviewed an issue of that about a month ago. The last part is maybe the most important piece of backstory. You don't need to know it. The story doesn't rely on it. It's just that there were short subplot scenes setting up this story, but you really don't have to know about them. The actual story sets up and repeats what you might feel you are missing from single cryptic pages from Cableman 44 and Cableman 47. Now, I spent so long on the fold out recap page, we have ran out of time to look at the actual comic. It is a joke, it's a lampoon. We are going to look at it, don't worry. Here is our new character, Chase Meridian. We have a great 1-2 punch of images here. This one showing her feeling alone. And then we turn the page and we show that she's not. One of the hallmarks of Josie Landion's artwork is its level of detail. It includes so much detail into his pieces. On top of the Jack Quimby comparisons, I also get a great sense of influence from Morbius, the French artist Morbius. It's Morbin time. Chase Meridian is a reporter for a muck-raking tabloid. She hates it. She thinks less of herself because of her job. And her dream was always to work for a real paper like the Daily Planet. One thing I utterly respect is that we didn't just create a new Daily Planet reporter. That drives me mad. I like that we still use the Daily Planet as a touchstone in her story. Chase Meridian, she winds up being a very present supporting character in Cableman's series. Not just in this run, but in most of the runs afterwards. In those other runs, she isn't anywhere near as prominent as she is in this run, but there is Cableman and Dead Pills, where she is even more prominent than in these. That is where I know her from. That's where I was introduced to her. That was the last time she appeared, for ages, Cableman and Dead Pills. There was a reference to her in the 2008 Cableman series. We saw one of her descendants in the future. And from a cutaway gathering effort for another video, I did see that she had returned in a recent Cableman series. I think it was when I was saying how much I hate how his arm is now a character and it talks to him and it has a girl's name and it gives him sass. I saw she was in one of those issues. She was like at the start of it. Cableman already has his Mary James in Dominoes, or he did. But Chase Meridian was like his Felicity. A good, maybe even better in some regards, second choice. Dead Pills also pestered her a lot trying to get a date. Chase gets called into a boss's office. She is given a new assignment. She is going to investigate Kevin Bacon, industrialist and bondage club member Kevin Bacon. She has been told she has to dig up dirt on him because surely he has some. Cameo appearance from Cableman's mum, the somehow sexy clone of Phoenix, on the photo of him here. There's one more morsel of story in an earlier issue, Cableman 44, I mentioned it before but I'll show it here. It's from that where the bit on the recap page was actually pulled from. That issue's never been collected. It's up to you how much value you really put into the single page subplot teasers. I think the story reads fine and is completely understandable without them. I didn't know about them for ages. I just like to let you know so you don't feel like you are missing something or you're aware of what you might be missing. This issue is all about giving us our new character, a point of view character, someone whose eyes we will see this story through. She is chasing down info about Kevin Bacon, pun there obviously, and everyone who knows something about him is going quiet, and any records of him have been hidden or removed. One of her contacts though, a drunk, he has some info on him. He saw Kevin Bacon and his bondage club associate, Guy Pearce, talking about upcoming important plans. No, this wasn't a subplot page in another issue. We never saw this. You really don't need to read anything before this story. I'll repeat that now. It is excellent, men, but back in the day, the good stories knew how to balance the continuity that at times seemed far too intense. Kevin Bacon recently appeared in the new Toxic Avenger movie, which was excruciatingly shit. But in the comics, he had returned from the dead. I think that is why we are devoting an investigation to him in this issue. Just before this, he had appeared in a story arc in Adjectiveless Excellent Men. That was his big public return from the dead. Don't worry, again, not important. It's continuity. It's not a piece of the story you even need. We had seen him in Excellent Force before that anyway. I would be on forever if I tried to provide you with every single piece of relevant data that might matter in some small way for a story that functions without needing it. But yeah, that is the undercurrent of why she is reporting on Kevin Bacon. This really rich guy has come out of the woodwork after an absence in the early 90s, so there must be some dirt on him that she can find. Chase Meridian then discovers a drunken source has been assassinated in his apartment, and she knows that something is up and that it has to do with the story that she is looking into. So she rushes back to work and she finds the entire office has been slaughtered. Everyone there is dead, murdered, and the bondage gooners come back for her. She is their main target. They were staking out the joint, waiting for her to return. And we do get to show that Chase Meridian is resourceful and active enough to escape. But the bondage gooners, they have firepower and heavy weaponry. And so she is cornered by them after a short, but appropriate for her name, chase. Before we introduce our title star, let's cast our minds back to what was out in September 1997. I have two comics here, two comics that are listed here. I have Amazing Spider-Man 428, Vague Age of Spider-Man. The cover is a reference to Amazing Spider-Man 53. You can always depend on a Tom Falcon comic for a pointless homage cover. The other one I have is Generation Next 32, also by Tom Falcon. That is the issue with the Circus of Crime. I reviewed that one already. Our other issues include Avengers 13, From Heroes Reborn, the forgotten about 13th issue, which was a crossover with the Wank Stain universe. Never reprinted, never acknowledged. We are at the point where I believe many people don't even know there was a 13th issue of that series. Journey into Mystery has handed over its reins to Bruce Lee. It will be cancelled very soon. Alpha Strike for the vague age of Alpha Strike. Ghost Driver issue 90. Getting close to that. Book's cancellation too. Extra Factor 137. Another one heading towards the end right there. Then in the centre we have an item that reads like an obituary to me. We're announcing 3 hot new relaunches that will save the industry forever. First is Iron Man by Kurt Busiek and one of the Sam Changs. Funny how people think Kurt Busiek is a godsend and none of them talk about his Iron Man run. We have Martin Quaid and Marcus Garvey returning to Captain America. They are righting the ship after Robert Liefeldman stole the book from them. And then we have Avengers by Kurt Busiek and Jorge Perez. These books and others of that ilk will be insanely praised by Wizard Magazine and the early internet comic book websites, and they will unfairly dominate any discussion about comics in the late 90s, while the great runs on books like Cable Man or Generation Next never get any love because people were only ever told repeatedly about how Kurt Busiek wrote the best Avengers stories ever. As you would expect, as anyone with half a brain would expect, Cable Man shows up to take out the Gooners. We have an action sequence with Cable Man saving Chase Meridian. I do think there is far too much shadow in this issue. I'm not sure if this colourist does the whole run, but I do remember it being brighter than this issue is. The -1 issue, for example, that one is much more colourful. This one is hiding too much behind jet black shade or having things trail off into entirely shadow. Cable Man defeats the Gooners and he has saved Chase Meridian. Good for her. And come with me if you want to live. This isn't a comic by Jeff Nobles, so he doesn't actually say come with me if you want to live. A good opening move, some small artistic problems, and the amount of story itself might be on the side of lacking, but I think it is a strong beginning here. Far and above any of those hot new books that they were announcing. This one outshines them, which is a bit ironic considering one of my main concerns here was its overly dark colour palette. I do think they improve on that in the future issues. I'll have to give this 7 thumbs up.